So look at Anthony Ryder from South Lyon, Michigan, recently selected as the Lions 2020 Fan of the Year. He has a passion about sports broadcasting.
With the 112th selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver, USC. One pride, baby! Yeah! What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another NFL video. Today, we have a very special guest, somebody that I have watched for a long time and been subscribed to for quite a while. If you are around the NFL draft, if you watch any NFL draft content on YouTube, you'll know who this is. Mr. Broshmo is in the building. How are you doing today?
I'm good.
Good. We are going to go over the first round of the NFL mock draft. And I'm going to do odds. He's going to do evens. And we're just going to kind of go through it, talk about the prospects, talk about the teams, and, just kind of put together a first round mock draft. So with that being the case, I'll take off and start with number 1. And with the Carolina Panthers, I think quarterback's pretty obvious. I mean, you don't give up that much draft capital to not go get your guy. And I've seen a lot of different things about who they could take, who they could not. I know Bryce Young is on the rise of, kind of that rumor train if he's going to go with the first pick. There's obviously been a lot of talk about CJ Stroud, a lot of talk about Will Levis, all these different players. I think CJ Stroud fits them a little bit better. I think he kind of fits the mantra of the Frank Reich quarterback, of kind of the big precision passer. I have Bryce Young as my quarterback one in the class, but just kind of going off what I think is going to happen, CJ Stroud, I think, fits the Panthers a little bit better, just based off the quarterbacks that Frank Reich has had in the past. So I'm gonna go CJ Stroud, pick number 1.
All right. Well, this makes it easy. Texans, I'll take Bryce Young.
Yeah, I
best
figured
passer in here, man.
Yeah, no, Bryce Young is my quarterback 1 as well. I think he's a very, very good quarterback. I think he is the best processor in this class. Number 3, the Cardinals. This one, again, kind of a chalkboard pick. The top 5 are, usually pretty similar. I think Will Anderson is going to be the pick here. Partially because I think he's a very good pass rusher, obviously, but also the GM is thinking about ticket sales, and I don't think Tyree Wilson's going to sell the tickets that Will Anderson's going to. I think Jalen Carter's a big risk. Will Anderson seems like the obvious choice.
Yeah, the curious little thing with that pick is like what news came out, like the Texans were talking about moving up to 3.
Yeah,
like they were listed as one team. I was like, what? That would be freaking nuts. That would
shake up the draft incredibly.
Yeah. Easy pick. Anthony Richardson. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine him under Shane Steichen?
Yeah.
I think that's how you say it.
I think so.
I'm terrible with last names. I'll just call him Coach Shane, but I mean, we saw what the RPO with Jalen Hurts looked like, how he developed him over the last 2 seasons. So Anthony Richardson, man, plug him, play him, forget about it, utilize those legs. They got guys that can create after the catch. They got good contested catch targets, big body targets, and Pittman and Pierce. So, and tight ends. My gosh, their tight ends are giant. Mo Alley, Cox, and Woods. Jeez Louise.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's a pretty easy pick. Anthony Richardson, I think is more pro ready than a lot of people say. I don't think the completion percentage is a very good way of telling the story of Anthony Richardson. And like you said, I mean, use those legs, use those weapons, and can't be too bad. Anthony Richardson's a pretty good player. Seattle Seahawks. Obviously, I think there is offensive line help that could be needed, but I don't think there's too many offensive linemen that you're going to take in the top 5 in this class. Especially their tackles are kind of secure. They need more interior stuff, and they don't really have that. I know that Jalen Carter kind of has the whole question mark surrounding him, but I think if it works out, and I think especially, and this has been my idea the whole time, is like they obviously have way more information than we do as NFL teams. So I think if the Seahawks or the Lions or whoever's going to take Jalen Carter, if they feel comfortable with the situation, I would have no reason to question it. I think Jalen Carter is potentially the best prospect, the best talent in this class. And I think he's still very much in play at number 5.
All right, number 6. So, I did Von Witherspoon yesterday. Don't click on anything just yet.
Yeah, no, I gotcha.
I think he's a good fit with Aaron Glenn. They just got rid of Akuda. Oh man, wow. Do they feel comfortable with maybe what corner falls to them at 18? It's kind of the question because I feel like they're gonna go with one of those in the first round. Or are they more content with maybe seeing how the edge group falls or wide receivers fall at 18? I kind of like that a little bit better. I got Gonzalez. Honestly, Gonzalez and Witherspoon are 1A, 1B, but man, I just think the smash mouth style of Witherspoon probably just matches Campbell and Glenn a bit more. Maybe for the sake of seeing where this goes, maybe I go elsewhere. But I don't think I'm going to. I'm going to go with Witherspoon.
On Witherspoon. I mean, I think that makes the most sense. I think that he, like you said, fits that culture better, right? He's the smash mouth. He's the press corner. He's the physical guy. And I mean, I think either Gonzalez or Witherspoon would be a good pick, but I think Devin Witherspoon just fits the team better. I think his whole mindset, everything I think his play style fits Dan Campbell a lot better. And I mean, I know they signed 2 corners, and I think Cam Sutton's a good player, but Emmanuel Mosley's gone after this year. The only cornerbacks on the
slot.
Yeah. And the only cornerbacks on the roster after this year are Jerry Jacobs and Cam Sutton. So I think cornerback depth, like you said, is very much in play still. Oh, the Las Vegas Raiders. I feel like quarterback is an option. Like, I know that they just got Jimmy Garoppolo, but I don't think that they're really sold on Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, the Patriot system, I get it. Like, I feel like Will Levis is still in play, but I also feel like Josh McDaniels is going to try to save his job. So I don't think you take a long-term quarterback with a team that just underperformed and a head coach that isn't in the most secure of seats right now. So I think there's a lot of options. I think Peter Skoronski's not a bad idea. Somebody that has tackle and guard flexibility, somebody that can kind of do both, protects Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback, fixes the offensive line, can be a run blocker for Josh Jacobs. I haven't seen Peter Skoronski go super high in a lot of mock drafts, but I do think he is a very good tackle. There are other tackles too. I mean, I think that even though PFF doesn't have him very high, I think Paris Johnson or Darnell Wright are both really good. I think they go tackle here. I think it's kind of a fundamental position. I'm going to go with Paris Johnson. I think they try to protect their quarterback. They try to open up some run game. I think they go offensive line here.
Okay. Yeah, because they could start him right tackle. They brought back Jermaine Elmore. I don't know. I can't say his name, but he was reasonably all right last year. But they could put, if they want, they could put Johnson at guard early on. Atlanta Falcons. So this is the question for me with the Atlanta Falcons. Schematically, what is that front seven going to look like? Are we going to see even front or odd front? If it's odd, then Nolan Smith feels really good here. If it's even, then Tyree Wilson feels a bit better. So I think I'm going to go with Wilson this time around. Also has the versatility to kick inside. Really depends on what we see, like what we're going to see from them schematically. I think they're going to be more of a man heavy. Well, I think obviously they're going to be more man heavy this season. Or they might not. They still have Casey Hayward there, and who's notably older guy, more of a zone guy. But yeah, I'll go with Tyree Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last real blue chip defender, well, I guess Christian Gonzalez too, but the last of those big 3 defensive linemen that, those top 3 defensive linemen, one of them is going to end up falling. Chicago Bears, I have been very, I guess, I don't know the word, very involved in Bears Twitter the last couple of weeks because they like to pick on Lions fans for whatever reason for getting excited about their team. But I've gotten a lot of opinions. I have a couple of friends that are Bears fans, and they've talked a lot. The consensus seems to be either Jackson Smith and Jigba or a tackle. I think a tackle makes way more sense. I think that Jackson Smith and Jigba is like that fun pick that you want to happen and you want to see. But realistically, I think Ryan Poles has to go either tackle or defensive lineman. I would not take Kalijah Cansey at number 9 personally. I like I've had a lot of conversations about that too with people with Kalijah Cansey and people thinking he's going to be Aaron Donald. I don't see that. I think they're going to go tackle. And I've seen a lot of Bears fans recently be really in on Darnell Wright. And I think it's either between him or Skoronski, but just because all the fans that I've been seeing, and I think that Darnell Wright makes a lot of sense, I think you could start him at tackle, and I think he'd be really good for the Bears.
Yeah, the Darnell hype train has come full circle.
Yeah.
All right, for this one, I think I'm gonna follow Eagles Twitter for this one, as they're showing the hype with Nolan Smith coming in and kind of being the heir apparent to Son Reddick. Reddick with 2 more years on his deal, but honestly, you could probably cut him in the last year of that deal. So let's go with Nolan Smith. Stick with the trenches. Get them that nasty pass rusher that's also a solid run defender.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense too. Somebody that's super athletic. I mean, just a freaky athlete. Add that to the Eagles defensive line, and the Eagles don't miss very often on defensive line prospects. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Tennessee Titans. The obvious pick here for me is Will Levis. There's been a lot of stories about them trading up or, trying to go up to the Cardinals. And I've even seen a couple about the Lions if one of the big quarterbacks falls. They're reportedly out on Malik Willis. From what I've seen, it seems like there's not a whole lot of bridge left to burn there between those two parties. Ryan Tannehill's older. I'm not sure how many years he has left on his deal, but I can't imagine too many. Yeah, one more year.
Last year.
Will Levis, somebody that I think is not quite on the level of Anthony Richardson or Young or Stroud, but somebody that has undeniable arm talent. I think somebody that, an NFL team is eventually going to talk themselves into of, hey, this guy has the tools to be an NFL quarterback. And especially with a team that has an uncertain quarterback future, I think the Titans make the logical pick here and go Will Levis.
Okay. I'm going to go Lucas Van Ness for the Texans. I firmly believe pick 12, or at least the second pick for the Texans, where if they end up trading up or whatever, is going to be the fingerprint for D'Amico Ryans on this defensive line. Lucas Van Ness, nasty bull rusher, great at turn speed to power, and a dude that can be utilized to help them with stunts, loop-in, stuff like that, and just needs a little bit more polish. So yeah, let's go with that there with no Nolan Smith here. Miles Murphy potentially, but I think Van Ness just right now has got more going for him.
All right, Lucas Van Ness is the pick.
Yes.
Yeah, that's one that I was really hoping I hope falls to the Lions. That's one of my guys where I'm like, if he can fall to 18, that is going to be the fastest pick I would ever make. Like that guy, from what I've seen at least, reminds me a lot of Hutchinson, just a high motor player. I think would actually fit the culture really well in Detroit. That's like my dream scenario is like that guy falls to 18. Obviously not happening here, but that would be my hope.
Yeah,
but
we would have a lot less questions about him if he stayed another year.
Yeah. Ooh, the New York Jets, a team that potentially won't hold this pick by the time the video comes out. Who knows what's going on with the Aaron Rodgers situation. The Jets, I feel like, don't have very many holes outside of the offense or outside of the quarterbacking position. I mean, they have a super strong young defense. They have the weapons. Their offensive line, I feel like, wasn't awful last year, but I feel like does still have some question marks, especially with Mekhi Becton, who at this point, I still don't think we really know what's going on with Becton. Like the injury thing, I feel like he's been out for 2 years at this point. And like, I remember him being really good as a rookie and making a lot of headway and then just like kind of disappearing for a while. So I think tackle makes a lot of sense here. I think filling out your offensive line for a quarterback that's going to come in that's a little bit older and probably could use the protection, less hits on your quarterback that's aging makes more sense than letting him take a beating. And I like Peter Skoronski a lot. The size and the length does worry me, but I also think he's one of the best tackles in the class. And if we've learned anything from Northwestern tackles as of recently, I think that they're going to turn out to be pretty decent. So I'm going to go Peter Skoronski with the 13th overall pick.
All right. This one's Christian Gonzalez. Super easy. They brought back Jonathan Jones, 2-year deal, whatever. They brought back Jalen Mills, I think, on a lesser deal. Who cares? He's bad. Get them some size, nice blend of speed with corner. He's currently probably the highest guy on my board still left. You could consider tackle here, but man, it's fine. They got some Band-Aids there and Trent Brown and Riley Reef.
Yeah. All right. Packers are up, the division rival. I saw something the other day that I can't remember the exact number, but it was like 11 of the Packers' last 12 first-round picks have been spent in the secondary. Like an absurd amount of their last first-round picks have been spent in the secondary. And I feel like Brian Branch makes a lot of sense to the Packers. I feel like Darnell Savage really isn't all that great of a football player. I know he got benched and was a former first-round pick and kind of has moved up and down the depth chart quite a bit. I think Brian Branch is a super versatile defender. I would really question whether the Packers are going to draft a wide receiver in the first round, because if they never did it for Aaron Rodgers, I don't know why they would do it for Jordan Love. Like I don't see them drafting a weapon necessarily, at least not in the first round. I think Brian Branch makes a lot of sense here. Him or Deonte Banks. I've watched a lot of Deonte Banks the last couple of days, and I'm very high on him. But I think Brian Branch makes a lot of sense. A versatile piece, a piece you can use at nickel, a piece you can use at safety. I think it makes a lot of sense for the Packers. And knowing their history with drafting defensive backs, I think that this makes a lot of sense.
All right. Washington wants to get more physical at the cornerback position. I think Porter's probably a really good fit. Him or Banks, honestly, are really good fits, but I think they might weigh more with the size, which would be Porter. Dude's got huge, freakish length, like 34-inch arms. So, yeah, I think we'll go with Porter here. It's a close one. It's a coin toss for me.
Yeah, and I think that's going to upset a lot of Pittsburgh Steelers fans, because I know a lot of them are hoping that Joey Porter falls to 17. I think they need defensive back, but I think they could also use some offensive line help. There are 2 tackles left. I feel like I've taken tackle like the last 2 or 3 times that I've been up, but I think it makes a lot of sense for them. I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers have a young quarterback in Kenny Pickett. They already have a good defense. They have some decent weapons. I feel like their tackles have been kind of a problem the last couple of years. And I think either Anton Harrison or Broderick Jones is going to be the option. I like both. I don't think either one's like a surefire slam dunk kind of pick, but I do think that Broderick Jones is a little bit better at the moment, and I think has a few more tools to kind of develop. So I'm going to go offensive tackle there again as well.
All right. So edge would have been nice here. Miles Murphy still on the board, but I think kind of largely people will view him as a project. I mean, we saw how effective Trayvon Walker was this past season. So I imagine it's going to be a similar learning curve for him, because very unpolished is Miles Murphy. So I'm going to go with the receiver here. I love the idea of Quentin Johnston, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Jameson Williams, man. Especially once they get JMO that number for his jersey. Gonna love it.
All right, Quentin Johnston. He's a player that I go back and forth with. I like the idea of Quentin Johnston and that big X wide receiver. I feel like there's a lot of question marks. I think that he catches with his chest a lot, but yeah, I mean, if you can get that guy to hit his ceiling, I mean, it's going to be a scary wide receiving core for Jared Goff or whoever. I mean,
that's the thing. I know he has that dog in him to catch with his hands, just totally mob the catch point. Like we saw it 2021 against Oklahoma. And it's like, how can we get that guy? Might be honestly the best tape Quentin Johnson has put out is that game. And it was literally the first thing I watched over last summer during my receiver evals.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, I love this guy. And I'm like, wait, where's this dog? Where's this animal that I saw?
Yeah, but I mean, I think if anybody can get, kind of that player out of him, I think it's Ben Johnson. He's a super young, very good offensive mind. I think we'll scheme Quentin Johnson into a lot of positive situations. And even if Quentin Johnson can come in and kind of replace the DJ Chark role as a rookie, just kind of a deep threat, somebody that can, stretch the defense, create some big plays here and there. As a rookie, I think that, at a bare minimum, he can do that. Because I think DJ Chark had like 520 yards and 3 or 4 touchdowns last year. I think you could expect that out of Johnson
Chark
as a
was
rookie.
banged up too.
Yeah, Chark missed some time. So I think if he even plays just that role as a rookie, I think that makes a lot of sense. Going to Tampa Bay, a team that I feel like needs a lot of everything. Ooh.
Yeah, they're old.
Yeah, they're very old. Wide receivers not really on the table. I feel like they're not a team in a position to draft a tight end. Kalijah Kancey makes a little bit of sense. I feel like they could always add more to that defensive line. I feel like there's a lot of options, but I feel like none of them are like perfect fits for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think Kalijah Kancey makes sense, though. I think that they're going to try to get back to what got them to the Super Bowl, which was that pass rush. It was a great defense. Obviously, you have quarterback issues with Tom Brady retiring, but honestly, I wouldn't take Tanner McKee or Hendon Hooker at 19. You can arguably get Hendon Hooker in the second or another quarterback later down the draft board. Or, you never know. I had Kyle Trask as like a decently high prospect when he came out too. So I think that Kalijah Kancey makes sense. I think they're going to look to add to that defensive line. They're going to look to get some pass rush back. I know they're losing or probably going to lose Devin White. So linebacker you'd think is potentially an option there, but I don't think the linebacking class is necessarily strong enough to warrant a top 20 pick. So I'll go with Kalijah Kancey.
Nice. All right. Seahawks. I think this is Jackson Smith and Jigba, man. JSN. Nice slot weapon. You got Lockett. He could play outside. He could play inside. He could be very versatile. You kind of get that nice variety in the receiver room. So, I mean, you already addressed defense with your first pick. Go ahead, take some offense. Help Geno in that 3-year contract out. To be fair, it could be a 1-year contract, but we'll see.
Yeah. So the Chargers are on the board, and I feel like their ideal guy would have been Quentin Johnston, somebody with size and speed to help Herbert stretch the field. I do think they still need wide receiver. I know there was rumors about Keenan Allen being cut and being moved on from. I know Mike Williams doesn't have a ton of speed. A big problem for them last year was kind of that ability to stretch the field because all of their wide receivers ran like 4.6 or slower. A lot of big guys, but not a lot of fast guys. I think Jordan Addison or Zay Flowers would help. Neither of them are like burners, but they definitely have more speed than Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. I think Jordan Addison is a phenomenal route runner. I think if you're looking for a guy to create separation for Justin Herbert, I think Jordan Addison is kind of the guy.
Okay. I know he was kind of rumored today to the Chargers. Ravens, this is kind of like best case scenario. Deontay Banks, he falls to you here. You already picked up OBJ and paid him $15 million with incentives to make it $18 million. You get to shore up that other corner spot. You don't need Brandon Stevens out there. He is meh. Yeah, but he's versatile. He's like a converted safety, so it's like it's fine. Yeah. You could find other areas to utilize him, but yeah, Banks, man, would be perfect fit for this defense.
Yeah, Banks, like I said, I watched a lot of Banks the last couple of days. He's got that dog in him. I mean, he is a great cornerback, and I think would be a really, really good fit as well. Minnesota Vikings are up, and they had the worst ranked secondary in the NFL last season. I mean, they were pretty atrocious. And I know that they just got a new defensive coordinator, and I don't believe they addressed secondary too much in free agency. I don't remember seeing any big
Byron Murphy.
Yeah, but he's more of a nickel defender. I know they let Patrick Peterson go. It might be a little rich for Emmanuel Forbes or Cam Smith, but I think they're both options. I think that defense just needs to be gutted and kind of rebuilt from the ground up. I don't know if there's too many players there that are going to come back and be long-term contributors. I think Emmanuel Forbes is really good. I know there are a lot of size concerns, but I think he's really good in man coverage. You're going to look for a guy that can play on the boundary, and I think that Emmanuel Forbes is going to be the option here. Maybe a slight reach, but I think the positional value is too much, and you do need a good young cornerback to help in that secondary.
Okay. Got a lot to think about here with the Jags. So used to Brian Branch being here and just being a chalk it up.
Yeah, don't make it.
My first thought is Anton Harrison. I'm not a big fan of Cam Robinson. I mean, he's fine, but I think they could probably cut him loose after this year. Not sure how the contract looks, though. Yeah, I think Anton Harrison's it. He might be a year away from starting anyway, just from a play strength perspective. But this is a guy that knows what his weakness is, and he got in the gym this year. He looked much stronger, but still, it's not where you want it to be. But golly, dude, that man can move.
Yeah. The Giants are up. I feel like the easy pick, the chalkboard pick, is wide receiver. They traded for Darren Waller for basically nothing. They don't really have a whole lot of weapons going in. I know Wan'Dale Robinson was pretty good before he got hurt, but they don't really have a ton of weapons there for Daniel Jones, and I feel like, especially after signing him to that contract, they're going to look to build around him. I think Zay Flowers is a really good route runner. I think would create separation for them, be a big play option for them at the wide receiver position, kind of pair up with Darren Waller, and give Daniel Jones really two big receiving weapons to go out and at least try to be a little bit more balanced of an offense next year and hopefully not run Saquon into the ground by week 7. So I think Zay Flowers is a good pick there.
Awesome. I'll take Bijan. He's got to go. He's going to go higher than this. But where that may be, who knows? Tony Pollard, he's on the franchise tag. If you could go ahead and technically upgrade from Pollard and do it on a rookie deal, then this is the way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, Bijan Robinson is not the 26th best player in this class. He is significantly better than that, but I mean, I think if Bijan Robinson makes it to 6 or to 26, the clock will probably run for maybe 5 seconds, and we'll hear the name called. Ooh, now the Buffalo Bills. I mean, obviously the Bills are a good football team. They don't have a ton of weaknesses. I don't know what their offensive line looks like, but I'm not thinking of anybody that's a true standout player. I know that they really need to get better in the running game. Bijan's gone. I think Bijan would have been my pick here, even though the Buffalo Bills don't run the ball a ton. If they had Bijan, I think they would. It would make them a much more balanced offense. But I think they need to get better at running the ball. And I think a guy like Osiris Torrance could help them with that. Somebody who is a nasty run blocker, a good pass protector, a day one plug-and-play guard at the offensive line, keeps Josh Allen upright, opens holes in the running game, I think would help make them a better, more balanced offense. And a guy that, again, kind of just has that dog in him, I think is a nasty football player.
All right. I think I'm going to take Dalton Kincaid here for the Bengals. Dwan Jones consideration, but Irv Smith, you expect him to last the year? Nah. Go ahead, get the best wide receiving threat at the corner or at the tight end position. That is Kincaid through and through. Former receiver, played 1 year in high school. It's why he wasn't highly recruited. Went to San Diego, tore it up. Moved to Utah, tore it up. Dude's good.
Yeah, no, he is quite a receiving talent at the tight end position. And I think, and like you said, adding that to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and that whole receiving core, it would be pretty difficult to stop, I would say, for anybody. The Saints are on the board. I feel like the Saints are one of those teams that need a lot of things and unfortunately don't have the pick to go make that happen. Offensive line, I mean, both trenches are really in need. I feel like cornerback, aside from Marshawn Lattimore, isn't great. I think Paulson Debo's okay, but not anything that's irreplaceable. Defensive line, I think, makes some sense. Miles Murphy, because they did just lose Marcus Davenport, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
I think Miles Murphy makes sense. Somebody that, kind of came into this year with top 10 potential. I think still has that potential. I think that makes some sense. I think they're going to, again, try to look to rebuild that defense as what made them great for a couple year stretch there. I think Miles Murphy makes sense.
All right, Philadelphia Eagles. This is why I like the idea of them maybe going with the offensive talent early. Because now I'm sitting here and I'm like, man, I could have just got an edge rusher or a defensive line player. And you know what? I'm probably going to stick with the defensive line. Best player on the board for me is Brian Brzee. Have him paired up with Jordan Davis, kind of your future. You got Milton Williams, who kind of can play both outside, inside. He's kind of that rotation guy. There, you brought in Nolan Smith. It's just going to be a scary freaking front, man. That's going to be terrifying.
Yeah, Brian Brzee then?
Yeah.
All right, and then the last pick of the first round goes to the Kansas City Chiefs, a team that doesn't need more talent, but will definitely take some. Obviously not too many needs as they are the reigning Super Bowl champions. Wide receiver, I feel like is a need. I feel like it's something that can be addressed, even though there's not a whole lot left here. I think the speed of Jalen Hyatt makes sense, but I feel like he's not necessarily the cleanest route runner. Could work, but I think would be a little bit of a reach. I think that they're going to go kind of similar to what they did last year. They waited for George Karlaftis to fall down the board, somebody with some high upside. I think Will McDonald, the fourth, makes a lot of sense here as well. Kind of pair that as your young edge rushing duo. I know they were talking about Frank Clark potentially not returning and being cut. You could have Will McDonald, George Karlaftis as your two primary edge rushers for the next 3 or 4 years. And I think that makes sense there for the Kansas City Chiefs to just upgrade on defense, kind of steal a player that has some high upside. And that is our NFL mock draft. So I want to thank Broshmo yet again for coming on. Any final thoughts for this?
Yeah, dude, it's just wild, man. Every time I do a mock, man, it's something different, something new, something interesting. Doing these mocks kind of help you at least plan out for teams, because I'm about to start doing team specific mocks, and golly, man, just like I look at like the Eagles and it's like, man, probably be better. There's a better way I could have approached this. But I mean, I'm still satisfied with ultimately what it came out with. I was pretty satisfied with Detroit's, but like, man, just the importance of mock drafts and in terms of how you want to at least be able to plan out the draft. Then again, it never goes how we expect. So
I had microphone issues, but yeah, no,
I was like,
no, I totally get what you're saying. Yeah, I think it helps you plan everything out, kind of see everything, how it's going to fall. And I mean, I had a good time mock drafting. So thank you again to Broshmo for coming out, joining the channel for the day. And we will see you guys all next time for another probably Detroit Lions video, but we'll have some more mock drafts coming your way as well. So see you guys.